This is our second podcast, and this podcast will be dedicated to Stephen Tank Airy, who we all love and miss very much. And we dedicated also our Authentic Acoustic on the 24th of May to him, and we unveiled our new Tanks Bar signs. So this is for him. Hello and welcome to Only at the Studio podcast. I'm Louise and I've got a posse with me, and they are
Carl,
Jane,
Arno, John,
Keith,
Georgina, Meg,
Peter,
James.
Oh, yeah, smooth. So we are lending our podcast over to Authentic Acoustic, which is a monthly night here at the studio. And it's a night when we give an opportunity to less experienced musicians and more experienced musicians to mingle together and play their own music and maybe a couple of covers that they that shows their influences. We also talk about what their influences are, or make them talk before they play, and find out where they're heading with their music. And we're lucky enough today to have some people that have taken part in Authentic Acoustic, both as performers and audience members. And we're going to play some tracks from our recent Authentic Acoustics here at the studio from April and May. And Meg, I think you've got our first track we're going to listen to.
That's right. To kick it off, we have a song from the April Authentic Acoustic. It's River by God Needs Wine.
Feels like a river inside me. It's bursting its banks, swallows the drowners, and those who just sank. The water is rising, it's dark and it's cold. It only gets harder to breathe the more I get old. It feels like a river inside me. You'll never sail again. Feels like a river inside me. You'll never sail. Feels like a river inside me. You'll never sail again. Feels like a river inside me.
Brilliant. So God Needs Wine, for those of you that don't know, you probably all do by now, because you're people who hang around the studio quite a lot, which is good. God Needs Wine actually has our creative writing instructor, tutor, Wayne Cookson, as one of the members. They're the brothers, all in that band. And so when he started doing some creative writing for us, it was all these kind of other opportunities came out. So, well, with the band, come and play, come and do this, come and, be at the bazaars and all parts. So one of the things we like to do is, if you get through the doors of the studio, kind of look at how you might be able to stay and do other things. But all of you here today have experienced Authentic Acoustic, and we've got Anna and Carl from Red Monk. Hello.
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 So you're like very recently performed here. So what we kind of say is the USB. I was saying it's USP of the what's the USB? That's what we put in a computer. We save all this what we're doing on a USB. But the USP of Authentic Acoustic is the fact that you can hear the music. It's not something we kind of have to say now to audience members at the beginning. When we started a couple of years back, we did sort of say, now this is a night where we want you to listen and, really give that respect to the performers, because so many people play without that for whatever reason. But for yourselves, what's your experience of performing an Authentic Acoustic?
So shall I go first then?
Yes, go on.
Just a very unique sort of like little environment, really. And I think when we played it last time, it was great to see. I think there was was it Georgia who was one of the girls who was very first on, and it was right at the end of her few songs that she said, "Thank you, that was my first gig," and it was really nice to hear. And he thought, "Wow, that's quite impressive. That wish I was doing that at that age." So it's a really, really nice environment, and we had somebody similar on the one we did as well, didn't we?
We did. Was it Amy? I think Amy.
Amy Jones,
Amy Jones was playing the other night, who had a absolutely wonderful voice. So young people who haven't had that much experience, and old people like us who've been in kind of various bands and stuff. But the atmosphere, I think the atmosphere is really, really good. I think there's got to be a balance between kind of people treating it like a folk club. Where you can't say absolutely anything, and for it to be a kind of social kind of gathering, I think it struck a good balance, really. We enjoyed it, didn't we? It was good.
Absolutely lovely, yeah. Tremendous.
Yeah.
Great, and you were one of the first to play on our new PA as well. So
right.
we'd never been out before.
Right.
Yeah, it was a bit of a leap of faith from Stephen, who did absolutely fantastic with it.
He did.
And I think for yourselves and others, it was a lovely sound as well. So we're really pleased to have that. It's a new digital desk, and they were kind of the half room as we do the Authentic Acoustic, the half room kind of speakers. And normally with Authentic Acoustic, you wouldn't get a monitor. You had a monitor. That was luxurious. So you didn't get a monitor, did you, Georgina and Pete there from What's Up Doc, who played in April, didn't you? What was your experience like?
I've been an audience member as well as playing at the acoustic, and I always feel like there's a lot of respect there from the audience, because it's people that appreciate music, whatever style it is, and they're there and they respect it. There's no chit-chatting or in between, and I just think it's a really nice, relaxing ambience, really, and it's a good place to play and get your music out there to people who appreciate it.
Great. What about you, Pete? How did you find it?
Yeah, there's a similar sort of experience, really. Is that when you play in open mics and pubs and things like that, there's always lots of people who are doing other stuff. They were ordering drinks at the bar, they're talking to each other. But when you come to the studio, everyone's sort of rooting for you, and they're here to see you. And especially we've been playing about 3 years now, is it? So we've as a band, yeah. So we've done quite a lot of open mics and that sort of thing, and you don't see the young people who've got no experience going to the open mics because it's a bit intimidating. Whereas at the studio, they've got that chance as well, and everyone's here to support them, which is really good.
Great, thank you. John, there you have performed at Authentic Acoustic, and it was perhaps a more unique experience, wasn't it? And it was you and your nephew as well, wasn't it? So that was young and a little bit older than young.
Oh, cheers.
That's a little
polite
bit.
way of saying you're old. Yeah, I know.
How was your experience?
Oh, it was amazing. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. I don't think anyone who was there will either.
It was the March one, wasn't it? Is that right?
March
yeah.
one. Yeah, we kind of filled in at the last moment, and so we just we played at the Prospect pub in Runcorn about a month earlier with the guy sat next to me, and for a charity night. So you asked us if we could fill in at the last minute, so we turned up and we did it, and yeah, it was a great experience. On one particular song will go down in folklore, I think. Won't they, Jane?
Certainly will, James.
James. Are you all sat down? Oh, yeah.
But so we've heard from performers. What about audience members then? Because I know Keith, Meg, Jane. You know, you've all kind of seen it. James, you've performed and been an audience member. What's your sort of experience, the other side of it?
I think it's really, as Pete said, it's a supportive audience, but it also gives encouragement to people who, you know, for the first time, like Amy and was it Tyler the other day? Reese, who was on. It was 14, and as Anna said, when we were that age, you know, still writing in hieroglyphics, but we never had them opportunities to do that. You know, you had to wait till you did the pub circuits or open mic circuits, but it's a great opportunity for young and old to display their talents. Yeah.
Lovely. Anyone else, Jane?
I'll just echo everything that everyone said, really. But one of the things I thought, especially on Friday, was the fact that all the bands don't just shoot off. They watch. They stay and they watch. I don't know whether you get that anywhere else, but I think that's really good. And they support each other. It's just a great atmosphere. Brilliant.
That's one thing that I think is really important as a performer, and one thing that always disappoints me really when people do the set and then just get off and they don't listen to the other musicians, because it doesn't matter what they're playing. There's always something of worth for you to listen to, you know. So, but just going back to the audience, the thing the other night was when I looked up, I was looking straight into Keith's eyes, so I was a little bit frightened, but he seemed to be smiling, so it wasn't too bad.
And Meg, you're one of these sort of just about to sip a bit of cup of tea there. Sorry about that. Meg, you recent member of staff, and you know, kind of getting to know the studio ways. What's your thoughts on Authentic Acoustic and what you know of it?
I think it's being an artist previously as well and doing a lot of gigs and open mics is very different, because sometimes you'd be in these places and people would have their backs to you, or they'd just be walking past you completely and the audience would have an obscured view of you. But that's not the case at all here. It is very much you're there to listen and to respect each other.
Brilliant. And also get some good photographs out of it, because it was like Paparazzi City, wasn't it? On Friday night, like girls on film. It was like, yeah, come on. So there should be some great shots there. And that's nice because it's given an opportunity as well to budding photographers. And everybody needs, you know, good images nowadays to get on their social medias and that. James, what about you as an artist and a staff member and as an audience member and as a person teching it and filming it and recording it? How do you find the Authentic Acoustic experience?
Like a Swiss Army knife.
I've never not enjoyed it. It's just always very good. It's always a good variety. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and is it nice to work it? How does because sometimes it's very stressful, isn't it, to have musicians needing to get a certain sound and all that, but it's quite a simple setup, isn't it?
Yeah, with the Authentic Acoustic, no one's ever fussy with stuff. Yeah, I always love it. It's one of my favourite nights to do, because there's always something fun to do. Like on Friday when I was recording the songs, it's nice. It's fun.
Great, good. Well, that's good, because you know we want staff to be able to enjoy it as well. There's nothing worse than kind of trying to be at a gig and the audience is not difficult to serve and all that kind of thing. But I certainly and Jane and John, even as I've worked the bar of it, and I think the bar has always been a pleasant atmosphere as well on these sort of events.
Certainly, I'm smiling, just the mic throwing me sometimes.
Putting the mic onto Jane. I'm coming for you now.
I think, especially for we had some youngsters, young people, youngsters, Tom and Emily and Tom working on Friday, and it's just to go off the track a little bit, like that. Yeah. It's a good experience because everyone is so lovely, and it's not a difficult bar to work, but they and I think it's nice to see young people smiling and serving you as well. But also, it's a good experience for them to go on to other jobs too. So I've just popped in my head that. But working the bar is just a pleasure. Everyone's lovely. Johnny?
Yeah, and it was nice to have Tom, one of the Toms, taking photographs as well. So he's got an interest in photography, and it was another night that he could take photographs on and get advice from the other photographers. So we're going to have to create a photographer pit. Because there was just so much activity going on.
Wristbands.
Yeah.
And if anyone is listening who really desperate to make that first gig, or wants to do something, it is a perfect opportunity. It really, really is a perfect opportunity, because everybody will encourage you. Young or old will just encourage you. It's a brilliant opportunity for anybody who is thinking about it. No matter how old you are, whether you're young or old, and you just want to play, it's such a chilled out, relaxed atmosphere that you can't fail, really.
I would just add something as well as a performer last time. What's really nice is getting that free drink when you go to the bar. That was
got a free drink?
That was a really nice surprise, that.
The only other thing that I would say as well, being someone who's performed in pubs and things, what you're saying is absolutely right about people's backs. The other thing that you can avoid is drunken women asking you to sing Mustang Sally, which has happened on several occasions. It just seems to be Mustang Sally that they really want me to sing, so it's just one of those things. Yeah, we'll have to work. We'll work that up. Yeah.
Or George Formby. George Formby.
So we'll hear another track now, I think, and believe you've got it lined up for us, Meg.
Yeah, the next track we've got is by Greg Oldfield, who everybody at the studio knows. And that song is For the Love of Now.
Precious indeed, I tried. Do you believe? Slowly she motions all things to an end. All things must end. I have to relate. I cannot turn away, although it's been that kind of day. We see eye to eye. We lay down to rest, you beside I. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. Like spiders kite the wind, we dance to the tune she sings, and sunlight cracks the flags. We fill our earthly bags with moments, precious moments. Oh, moments, precious moments, moments of now, precious indeed. Light of my life, I'll follow where you lead. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. For the love of now is all we have. Da 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 da. For the love of now is all we have. Da 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 da. For the love of now is all we.
Another thing about Authentic Acoustic that you should know is that we have an authentic acoustic stool. And it's something that you can sit on to play on. And then at the end of the evening, you have to sign it to say you've been and you've done and you've been authentic acoustic. Yeah. So before you can leave, and what is lovely again is that most people haven't left. If they, sometimes people have got other gigs, whatever, but most people are still there at the end of the night, so we can get them to sign the stool, the authentic acoustic stool, and also sign the poster, which we keep then. And we've got, I think we've probably got every single authentic acoustic poster signed by all the acts. when possible, and that's just a really lovely sort of memento of that. But and it kind of has that feeling that we're kind of all together and everybody's valued and important. So just thinking about April's then. So we had yourselves, What's Up Doc? We had Greg Oldfield, who we just heard. We had Georgia, and we had Wayne's band, who we heard earlier, which is God Needs Wine. I said Wayne's band. The brothers will be up in arms. All the brothers, Wayne and his brothers band. God Needs Wine. So, anybody there, and anything that happened that night, or anything from your position as a performer, anything that stuck out about the April authentic acoustic? I think that one of the things we were talking earlier, just as what stuff we were going to talk about, and one of the things, Keith, you mentioned about Georgia, who played first, and and the fact that it was her first gig, wasn't it?
Yeah. The other thing about that, Lou, we were talking about staff. When I was in my younger days, you were always terrified in case you put things on wrong, or you got the mic set up wrong, or the levels wrong. But the staff here are so kind and helpful that youngsters and us old folks don't have to worry about that. I mean, there's times in my other guys that stand up at the studio, and James or Steve or yourselves have helped us to get everything right, everything set up, Meg, everything's there. So young people out there, don't be afraid to come in and try, because you'll get loads and loads of help, which I think
the studio wants it to work, don't they? Whereas you play other gigs and you don't get any help, and you're trying to set it up, you're trying to do a sound check, but one of you has to go out, and so you can't get the right sound in that. But here, it's very supportive. They want the best sound out of you.
That's right.
And it's just really encouraging for, as you say, all age groups. Because when you get older, you can lose your confidence a bit, can't you, to get back on the gigging again. So here's a good place to go.
Well, that's it. Similarly to young Georgia, people being nervous, and you will be nervous, and that's absolutely fine. That's all part of it, and it's good to kind of play through that. But that's an interesting point, that we might assume that it would be just the young people with less experience, but it could be older people coming into it, or returning to it.
They've just have lost their confidence over the years, haven't they? So it's a good place to just get them back onto the playing side and gigging side again. And
what are people's nerves like when they're playing it? Is there any? Were you nervous? What's Up Docs?
Pete has any nerves?
Nah, Pete's steely. Look at him.
Yeah. But we were top of the bill. That was
headlining.
That was a little bit.
Gareth tends to get. I can't say because he's not here, but he does kind of get nervous, and
he cares about it, doesn't he? He's caring about it.
Yeah, he's very conscientious, and but it's great. The last few gigs we've had, it's been great, hasn't it? And we've been a lot more relaxed playing, and
I think that's gigs like the ones at the studio help him with that sort of thing, because he does get nervous sometimes on anywhere really, but he wasn't that night at all, probably because of the atmosphere that we all talked about.
Yeah, and I think you were great, and we've seen you kind of develop from when you were first starting out as well, and we all kind of said that was a real kind of strong performance, which is really nice for us to invite people back. It's not just like, oh, you've played, now that's it. It's kind of like, we'll get the months going and give the opportunities out, but it's really nice for people to be able to come back and see how they've developed, to see how they work with the audience, because there's you've got to be able to talk to the audience as well, haven't you, Carl? I know, you've got to chat. How do you feel about sort of chatting with the audience?
Well, I always leave the chatting to the singer, and ordinarily they're the words he doesn't forget. So I get a little bit nervous when he does. I think the first time we played it, there was a missing last verse, wasn't there? But
You said there was.
Well, I think we were pretty sure it was. But it's interesting when you talk about nerves. I think it's nice to have a little bit of nerves about you when you go on, because it sort of just helps you sort of realise what you're doing it for. And although we're at the older end of the spectrum, I've played nowhere near the amount of gigs as Anno has. So again, it's nice to have a few nerves before you go on.
Yeah, and it's nothing to be afraid of, is it? It's as long as you can work through it.
Another thing that I'd say as well is we both came down. We were in the audience when you played, because you were kind of checking out what the night was about, weren't you?
I was.
Good idea for all performers there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things. I mean, I thought you played great. It was really, really good. But the other thing was, from me coming down to the studio to do different things, I know both of them, but I didn't know you played in a band. So to see you with a ukulele bass, I So, where does that come from? I didn't know that, and yourself. And I think that's an important element because there's a real kind of community atmosphere here within the studio, and you see people's faces and you see them doing different things. I mean, the other week I was doing something with a trellis out the back, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was marvellous. And the lead pipe.
Yeah,
it was a bit Cluedo-esque.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the next thing, you strap a bass on and you become what you become, So it's good because it's quite enlightening sometimes when you come down and you see how talented people are. And
yeah, see them in different roles and things like that. Yeah. But that's the point, isn't it? That, it's a building. That's one night of it. And one of the things we always try and say to people is actually, if you come to the other things and not just the one thing that you think the studio is for, then you'll see that it is kind of, what the community wants, because we want people to come forward and say what they want out of it. But we'll talk a little bit more about that and about what Loose should be offering and what the studio should be offering, because Loose, for those of you that don't know, is the charity that runs the studio, and it developed out of the Loose Music Collective way back in '97, so which you were part of, Anno. You used to come to the meetings at the Kingsway. I was
saying it was funny the other day because obviously Bill was playing with Ukulele Huff, and it was me, Bill and Greg with hammers and screwdrivers that actually opened the place up and came in and saw all the dead pigeons and thought there might have been a dead tramp, but it wasn't. It was just a load of clothes. So it was, it was actually Keith. But, so
so we're here from the beginning. Brilliant. I think it'd be nice to have another little track now. While we've just heard from Anno and Carl, it can be one of theirs, I think. Is that right, Meg?
It is indeed, yeah. The next one up is Man of Faith by Red Monk.
What's this about? All right, okay. This is a brand new one. Down in the city, back to the wall. Cut the pack, watch the cards fall. Out on the streets, yes, it is sin. Knock on the door, let them in. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith surely must pray. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith surely must pray. Turn my back on the cold and rain. Remedy will ease my pain. Short-lived high, eternal low. Out of sight, kept down below. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith, yes, surely must pray. Little by little, day by day, a man of faith surely must pray. Neon nights promote the light. Paradise lost behind dead eyes. Soldiers of fortune with English pride. Return, refuse, religious crime. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith, yes, surely must pray. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith surely must pray. Down in the city, back to the wall. Cut the pack, watch the cards fall. Out on the streets, yes, it is sin. Knock on the door, let them in. by minute, day by day, a man of faith, yes, surely must pray. Minute by minute, day by day, a man of faith surely must pray. Surely must pray. You gotta pray on your knees and pray. Minute by minute, day by day, day by day.
So let's just pick up on what we were saying there about what Loose and what the studio can offer, what we should be offering. So we've got the authentic acoustic, we've got other gigs and things like that come up, and comedy, things that we touched on. But in terms of what we should be offering people who are both experienced and inexperienced as musicians, what do people need and want from us, do you think?
I think that this place is really, really important in the community. I think it offers so many opportunities for so many people, and I don't think we shout about it enough. So maybe that is something that we need to do, is to get ourselves out and about into the community and make people aware of what they can do and what they cannot. Anybody that can come here, and whether you want to do art with Georgina, or whether you want to learn to play an instrument, or whether you want to do technical side, or whether you just want to come here for a cup of tea and a natter, it doesn't matter. We offer anything really, and I think we need to shout about it a bit more.
I think buildings as well are becoming more of an important asset in the community, whereas I don't think they were necessarily recognised as important. It was more about what was being offered, what projects are being offered, what courses are being offered, whereas actually I think the tide has sort of turned now, and people are realising that it's the safe spaces and the creative spaces and the stimulating and inspiring spaces, and just somewhere that you can meet somebody else socially, that has become higher up on the agenda than perhaps the kind of activity, that
I would say
inside.
In the present climate where we are seeing libraries being shut and community centres and youth clubs being closed down, our place in the community is vital, and we really need to shout about it, because we're here and we can do anything you want to do, and that's all I've got to say.
I think it's the fact that everybody's made welcome, John. Yeah. No matter what you do, even if you haven't got a special talent, or you can't play an instrument or draw or write or sing or whatever, you're made welcome, and all ages. I mean,
there are no obstacles here.
There's
no
boundaries.
There's no, you just walk in and you will, we'll sort it out.
The family, the studio family, yeah.
I mean, I think everybody here uses the studio or is part of the studio for more than one reason. Like, so Pete, for example, you sold some LPs and things at the record fairs, haven't you?
I did, yeah. It worked very well. I had a friend of mine passed away, and I had a lot of he left me a lot of records, so I decided to sell some of them for charity, and I didn't really have anywhere to do it, basically, unless I was going to pay lots of money to go to a professional sort of record fair. So came down here and it worked a treat, and we made, in fact, by selling those records, I made £1,036 for the charity.
That's amazing. Yeah, brilliant, excellent, and nice atmosphere on the bazaar.
It was great fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Once it all gone, I wanted to buy some more to sell.
I know, we miss you. You need to come back with Pete's stall. And Georgina, obviously, as John's said there, you run our arts
sessions. Yeah, but I also come to the choir.
Also, a choir member. Yeah,
I come socially myself as well as working with the team. So yeah, I think it's just a great place. There's no hostility, there's no competitiveness where you feel like intimidated or anything. It's just a lovely, encouraging place to come, and really good activities go on.
Great. And obviously Red Monk, as well as performing, you actually rehearse here, which is lovely for us to see you regularly and see you using the space for a number of reasons. But you know, it's like you're developing with us in the building, and that's great. That's nice.
Yeah, to be honest, when we played live, you were probably sick of hearing the songs, as you hear them every week. But it does strike. You know, one of the problems that we had when we were in other bands was finding that sort of like rehearsal space, and you know, there does seem to be. I mean, all right, some of them are not the largest rooms, but there's a facility here and there's all the equipment here. You thought they'd be much more in demand than they seem to be.
Yeah, it's a funny one with rehearsal rooms because the whole place has to be versatile. So a lot of people come to us and say, I want to have your room as my band's rehearsal room and leave all my gear here. And we go, well, you can't do that because that stops everybody else from using it. So the college are in doing the BTEC course once a week. Other groups are in doing that. So it's just, that's kind of, it's like it's the best thing about it and the most difficult thing about it is the versatility, really. But also it's the restriction of time because it's so booked every day. And one of the things that people don't know is they think that, oh, well, it's just open on a Sunday. And why don't they open it more? How strange. That's like, it's the least amount of time that it's open. It's open every single day, daytime and night. The only time that isn't booked at the minute is a Tuesday day. That's the only time. And we don't have, you know, definite bookings on a Friday, obviously, because the gigs come up in the Authentic Acoustic and the stand-up at the studio. So, you know, we leave and Saturday nights. But Saturday mornings, absolutely rammed, and Sundays, you know, they're a bit quiet. Today, on the day of this recording, because it's a bank holiday weekend. So, you know, it's a tricky one, really, because we're offering the spaces, but actually there's so many people wanting to book it for other services that we have like the last pickings, really, of when we can offer it.
I think the other thing from our point of view as Red Monk, if we went to a commercial studio, which I mean, you know, I play in other bands and I use them, you're constantly kind of looking at the clock. If people are leaving amps there, you're tripping over their own amps. You know, most of them actually charge for doing that anyway. But with Red Monk, it's with us, it's been a bit more organic because we started off on a Tuesday night and we kind of drunk more coffee than we wrote songs, and it's been a slow process. Yeah, I enjoyed those. They were good. But here you can do that, and we've recorded here, we've worked parts out here, we've had some sessions where we've been like, should we just pack it in? And then other sessions where we've thought, hey, should we try this? So it's good, and it's a creative atmosphere as well. And we must apologise for the leaked vocals that come out on a Sunday. Cause,
no, it makes our day.
It does mean you can sing along, though. So,
it does, yeah. You know, and why would you not want that at your gigs? Is there anything then from your perspective, from people who do use it for other things, apart from what John was saying about shouting about it more, but are there any, and this is a genuine question in terms of what we could seek further funding for, or in a way of using our funding, because obviously I've got you here on false pretenses because this is actually our community meeting time. We just turned it into a podcast because why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try and do two things at once?
Took any minutes.
I know, it's all right, we're recording it, John. We'll have the audio. So is there anything that we could and should be looking towards getting more funding for, or using the funding, which is lottery funding currently, for like different gear? We've talked about this before in meetings, but you know, like getting a new drum kit that's got the studio logo in the front of it, which just seems to be my little obsession at the moment. You know, but it needs to come from you guys. It's not about me. You need to want that. So I can have it. But is there anything like either equipment?
I think you should get a new drum kit with it.
What should that drum kit look like?
Like a front skin with the studio on.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, we've got to make that dream come true.
We had a conversation before, because when we played here on Friday, Steve actually said to me, you know what you need? You need a compressor. So, all right, okay, I'll get a compressor. And I said to Carl earlier, was it this morning? I said, have you got a compressor? And he went, no, I don't even know what it does. And I don't know what it does. So sometimes we're not the best people to ask, really, you know. I think the more techie side of things is...
Does it generate electricity?
No, I think that's a totally different... You're thinking about a compressor for like a bouncy castle, aren't you?
Yeah.
No, it sustains a note, apparently.
No, Steve did mean you want one.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, it could have been, yeah. Bouncy castle might be the way forward, yeah. So, yeah, I think, I mean, there's lots and lots of potential of things that you can do, and there's obviously things about the environment around it that we've spoken about. But it needs to come from the people that are using it, doesn't it?
Absolutely right, yeah. I suppose it's about what, you know, us keeping those conversations going and people feeling that they can say, you know, what they need the rooms to be like, what they need the equipment to be like, and what they need opportunities-wise to, you know, it's all right us saying what it is, but it does need to come from you. And there's things like, you know, do people need regular big gigs on the main stage and stuff? Because obviously the Authentic Acoustic is a half-room floor kind of later Jules Holland type style thing, and you know we can talk a little bit later about the state of live music locally and globally, and how that impacts on people's expectations. But just before we do, we'll just kind of touch on who played the May Authentic Acoustic. So it was, you've mentioned before, the Ukulele Uff Trio, which Bill Leach, who's a massive part of Loose in the Studio, his band with Lonesome Dave and Ukulele Uff. And they played Friday, and then they went to Scotland to play, you know, the day after. So they're really kind of, they've got their sort of niche Hawaiian kind of 20s style. You've got slide guitars and all that kind of thing, and it's steel. So, it's fabulous, beautiful. It looks good as well, doesn't it? I mean, it looks nice what they're playing, but it sounds beautiful. So
I think actually Carl can tell you something about that, because I said to Carl, you really, you know, Ukulele Uff are fantastic. I mean, they're world-class musicians, and you weren't really looking forward to it, were you? So give us a bit of background.
Well, that's dropped me right in it. Yeah. I wasn't, to be honest. I heard the word ukulele and I thought, is that my thing, really? But then anyway, when I listened to them, I thought, wow, these are really good musicians.
I think you notice it. It's a ukulele,
No,
do you really?
no, not at all. You know, you go the way the idea that it's just going to be all ukulele, and it wasn't. They were just brilliant musicians, and I think I said at one stage during the night, I thought there was one song that they played in particular, and I think the guy played more notes in that song than I played in my life. I mean, they were genuinely brilliant musicians. And I think even going back to sort of like the month you paid, the variety in the artists was great. And you go along sometimes with some expectations, and sometimes you just go along on spec, and it's always a surprise, and it's nice to see that variety.
It's funny you should mention that, because I met somebody who was at the gig on Friday earlier on, and that's what he said. He said the variety of it was something that you wouldn't necessarily go out, you know, because you wouldn't hear all that different type of music in one place normally at a gig, because it'd be a styled evening or a set kind of. So you know, that's something that he enjoyed about it as well. And so we had yourselves, Ukulele Uff, and that was, I mean, it's nice to play alongside musicians like that. And but then as we said, we also had Amy and Reese 14, Amy 21, people starting out in their kind of careers. What's your thoughts on them and how they play? Because they're not here to speak for themselves, sadly.
I thought both of them deserved tons and tons of credit, because I couldn't believe that Reese was 14.
I know.
I just couldn't believe it, and he was there playing his own music in front of an audience. And Amy, her voice just blew me away. I thought it was a brilliant voice, and speaking to her afterwards, and she was really nervous. But yeah, it was great. And as we've been saying right through this conversation, it just gives you that bit of a boost to get in front of an audience. You know, so
it's amazing how nobody ever looks nervous either, do they really? I mean, you see it a couple of, you know, you see it a little bit, but very often, as soon as that first song kicks in, they're away, aren't they? Yeah. Well, we're going to hear from Reese now, I think. Meg, have you got a track lined up for us?
That's right, we've got a track from Reese. This one is called Friendship and Loneliness.
This next one, it started off as a bit of English homework as a poem, but I managed to turn it into a song. It's about the homeless. It's called Friendship and Loneliness.
Waking up in an unknown place, harsh bitter
Houses are houses, but maybe not homes. Please, please, just take me home. Manchester, Manchester, got nowhere to sleep. Manchester, Manchester, this life I will keep. Is this a life that'll keep on giving? Is this life worth living? Friendship or loneliness haunts me out. Can you hear me shout? Friendship or loneliness deep within. Do I live this life because of my sins? Oh, my sins. Waking up in an unknown place, harsh bitter wind beating in my face. Houses are houses, but maybe not homes. Please, please don't take me home. Friendship or loneliness haunts me out. Can you hear me shout? Friendship or loneliness deep within. Life because of my sins, oh, my sins. Friendship or loneliness haunts me out. Thank you.
So yeah, we picked up on kind of live music and what it can offer people and what the studio's kind of version of live music offers. But you know, what is the importance of live music either in your lives or in the community in the world? And what's your sort of thoughts on how we keep people feeling positive about their mental health, because it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, isn't it, out there as a musician, either just doing it for pleasure, you know, dealing with difficult personalities in bands and things like that, and you know, trying to juggle a family life, but also you know, when people are offering you opportunities and, you know, trying to judge whether somebody's gonna want your best, got your best interests at heart. So what's kind of like, how, two things, how important is live music, and how can we make sure that people are kind of looking after their mental health with that?
Well, 10 years ago I had a breakdown, nervous breakdown, and in my house I've got 5 guitars, and in 10 years I hadn't picked a guitar up. I just couldn't bring myself to pick a guitar up and play it. And then I think it was you, Lou, one day said to me, we're having a jam session. And Jed said to me, Jed Jarris, come along to the jam session. I said, no, I'm not going. I'm not taking a guitar. And the first day, I was so nervous. And I walked in, and I met John. I knew John previously. And John took me under his wing a bit. And today, we've been out, 7 or 8 of us, playing at Halton Stadium. And I thought, if it had gone back 3 or 4 months ago, I'd never have dreamt it. But it's done wonders to bring my confidence back into sort of line. I'm still a bit of a down a bit, but it has. It's been great, and I really look forward to Sunday afternoons doing a little jam session.
And would you say it's both the music and the company, or what's kind of?
It's both, Lou, yeah. And when I come and see, like I know I've known for years, and Greg I've known for years, but I've met Pete and Georgina and other people. Then I see young people getting up and having the confidence to do it. It makes me sit there. And I sat there like I was on the X Factor the other night on my own, and I'm thinking,
I should, table in front of me.
I was sat,
Brilliant.
I was really the Simon Cowell of witness, and I thought, I've got to get my act together and get back doing things like this, But yeah, it's just great. Just gives you that little fillip to get up there and do it.
Great. So anybody else kind of like?
I'd like to say there's been a lot of research put into well-being and music, and it is undoubtedly a massive connection between the two. So much so now that in medical, in doctors, and for example, are now looking at music as a prescribed drug, a treatment rather. So people, instead of being on medication, they will, why don't you join a choir? Why don't you try and escape into music, learn an instrument, be part of something? And music is working. It is working. It is making people feel a lot better. I mean, I was touched by Keith's story there, but because I never kind of realised that you hadn't picked the guitar up. So, and you just kind of got into it. Yeah. You got into it, and I wouldn't have guessed. So, it was good, and that kind of makes it worthwhile when you hear stories like that.
Absolutely.
And that's for anybody really. If anyone just wants to come along and get involved, then we will always make you welcome and be part of our little family.
It is hard, those first steps, isn't it? I mean, as we all probably know from the things we've done ourselves, and I used to think when someone used to say, come and meet me in a pub or whatever, you'd be like, oh, I don't want to walk in by myself. So walking in and then thinking you're going to play a guitar in front of strangers, like that's just an added thing. Or walking in and singing in front of strangers, because Jane here, sat to my left, is in the choir with us. What's your thoughts on what the choir offers you, both as a musical sort of experience and positive mental health?
Bearing in mind that we've heard the choir.
Okay. Oh no, I forgot you've heard it. I'll change what I'm going to say then. The choir on a Monday night, as there's a few of us here, we can see, and really, it's fun. It is a lot of fun. But if I always think, again, it's got a nice community spirit to it, and also different ages as well. But I think if you've had a bad day, which sometimes I do on a Monday, like we do, it does make you feel better after that hour and a half. And sometimes you think, I don't really feel like going tonight, but once you get there, it's just great. And I think it's another thing at the studio that's friendly and welcoming, and it's great.
Especially being part of a choir, because you're part of a team, aren't you? You're part of. You can hide in it if you want. If you don't feel like, you're not a kind of person who's out there and outgoing and whatever. If you feel like you're quiet and a bit insular, you're part of a team, so you don't stand out. So that's important, that you're made to feel welcome and part of a team. So even if you're a bit shy or whatever, you can come along and be part of it. Every person has their own little story and their own reasons why, but that's important.
And you, Georgina, you're part of the choir as well. What's your sort of experience of it? And
like Jane said, it's great. It's a lovely community atmosphere. No one's, we're not the greatest of singers and things like that, but nobody Sorry, Jane.
Outrageous. Outrageous slur.
But some are, some aren't. But it doesn't matter because we're there for the like the experience, the fun of it, the social side of it, and just to just have fun. Really, it's such a lovely, fun thing. There's no, you can get these lovely choirs. They've all got matching scarves and things like that. It's all very serious, but this is just great fun. Great
very
fun.
Relaxed, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, and the songs we sing are just really good songs to sing. And
Just lose yourself for a couple of hours, isn't it?
yeah,
Leave your troubles and
literally,
all
you
that.
don't. You're singing. You're all together, and you've spent a couple of hours without having to worry about anything and going on what's going on in your
Keith,
life.
you're a member of the choir as well, aren't you? And I know that there's not many men, although many men. It's something we do warm up to.
Homelessness.
Homelessness is another of mine. But
there isn't, and I thank God for Paul who comes along, because
Oh, yeah,
sometimes only Paul and I, and Tom sometimes comes but doesn't join in, and my mate Jed doesn't come. So, but I never feel like I'm the only man, because we all just have a laugh and muck in, don't we? And it's great atmosphere, and Jane will start me laughing, or Jonesy, and then Lou will start laughing, and we all end up just all giggling. We are the naughty corner, yeah. But it's, and I think Jane hit on it. There's times when you think, oh, I don't feel like going tonight, and you pull yourself up and you get here, and then when you're going home you think, I'm so glad I went tonight. It's brilliant, But it's great.
And it's something that I take part in, which obviously sort of working here, you don't necessarily get to experience what's on offer because you're either planning it or making sure that the room's okay or the equipment or whatever. But it's something that I try and make sure that I make time for every week. One, to be part of a group with other people and have that chance to socialise with them. But I even though I'm a bit of a fog on in the choir, surprise, I used to do singing at drama school, and I used to cry all the time because I was so terrified of singing because I loved it so much, but I thought I was so rubbish. So like we'd have to do this section, a module where we'd have to pick a song, and you got paired up, and I got paired up with like the best singer in the school. And I think they thought, well, she'll help you. No, that didn't help. That did not help.
Makes it worse.
So we had this. We got paired up and we had to choose a song. So I chose a song because I'm a right melancholy sod as well. So I chose a song, and it was like songs out of musicals that was like, I've been a lonely lady all my life. And it was like, oh, miserable as sin. Oh, yeah. And then, which was awful.
We're not singing it Monday.
No, please.
No, I won't be bringing it in, don't worry. It's out of my life. And then this fabulous singer chose Amazing Grace. It's just like, oh, you are kidding me? You are kidding me? So then we had to go one by one. Luckily, she wasn't in the room when we had to do it. But she does it. And then I go, and I was so nervous because I was so horrible in singing them. And I remember kind of doing the Amazing Grace bit where was blind, but now I see. I had my eyes shut. Was blind, but now I see, and open my eyes just at that bit. And it's like, oh, this is just going from bad to worse. It's horrible. So it's making me shake with nerves just thinking about that. But, that it's something that has really kind of allowed me to sing, because I would sing as everybody else does normally, just along to the radio and stuff. But I think it's helped me as a performer as well to get that confidence up and not worry about it not hitting the right notes and things like that. Just joining in and trying to kind of claim that back as rather than it being a bad memory.
No one's judgmental. No one is.
No.
And whatever your ability, it doesn't matter.
That's right, John. Exactly.
It doesn't matter. You just come along and join in, regardless.
Absolutely. And what we kind of we've talked a lot about the studio, and that's great. But what about the state of either choirs or live music locally? What's the opportunities out there, either groups wise or gig wise? And what's our thoughts on it globally? Because live music is becoming the major way that people make their money now because of downloads and things like that. So the sort of grand stadium tours are, that's where the acts are, aren't they? That's what they're doing, and festivals and all that kind of thing. But then is that reflected in what's happening locally or not?
I think if you go back to when I was a lad and I was in bands and things, there was social clubs, there was 10 pubs in the road, and you went along and said, can I have a gig? Yeah, you can play Tuesday night. So we do Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and it was great. Now they've gone. There's no pubs. The social clubs are closing. So where do these people go? Where do people who are 16, 20 go and say, can we have a gig? And there's nowhere here. You know, and it's very hard to find rehearsal rooms, as Anna said. Very hard to find gigs. But, you know, the opportunity is here. So, in a way, the live music could have died out. But I find the things like discos and the karaoke's, they're beginning to die out. And the live music...
That probably killed it, didn't it?
It did a bit.
The karaoke singing bars
Wiped
and
it
that
out,
killed
yeah.
it, didn't
but
it, really?
It's starting now. People want to see and appreciate more live music.
Yeah, I tend to find when I've been looking for gigs and stuff, venues tend to stick to the same bands, you know, kind of a clicky way, so it's hard to get in as well.
Yeah. We did a gig one time, and the place was full. We got 3 gigs out of it, 3 weddings, and the guy said to us, I'll never book you again. I said, why, what was up? You weren't country and western? And I said, well, we told you we were a rock band, you know, we weren't going to play country and western. But he had a right face on, you know.
So sometimes it is hard to get into these places and get a gig out of them, really, because they tend to stick to the same bands they've used before, and so it can be hard in local venues to do that.
Where have you been playing, Red Monk, and what's up top? What other pubs or clubs or whatever?
We've not. I mean, we've just kind of started, haven't we, with Red Monk? But I think one of the things I would say, the difficulty with pubs is if you do your own stuff. If you do your own material, you know, you're on a hiding to nothing. You're definitely not going to get paid.
No one's interested.
No one's interested at all. And you know, the only thing. There's still a bit of a rock scene, but there's getting less and less pubs that are doing that. Most of them want tribute bands, you know.
Thoughts on tribute bands, everybody?
I'll keep out of this.
Yes, I better add it up.
No, it's true. I know the Brindley and Runcorn is the major theatre in Runcorn, and I think tribute bands must take up 80% of the shows that are on there, which is fine if that's what you want, but it's not like seeing a band doing their own their own music. And also the thing about the studio is if you want to go and see a band, a band that they're selling tickets in advance, it's like a sort of military operation to order your tickets, you know, get them downloaded off the internet, turn up, and whereas at the studio you can turn up and see sort of great bands doing their own stuff. So it's a benefit in that way as well.
I think the other thing when you go and see bands is the actual costs as well. I mean, I was looking at something the other day on the Par Hall. I was going to go and see John Cooper Clarke, funnily enough. I think I saw him here for about £1.70 or something, you know, a couple of years back.
Yeah, a few years ago.
And for me and Michelle, my partner, to go, you were talking of like something like 80 quid. Yeah. And it's just, you know, that's not a cheap night out anymore, you know.
And what's that about? Is it about venue costs?
I think it's because that's, as you've rightly said, that's the only way they can make money. There's a lot of massive bands now that will not do another album because they can't sell it. And so what they do is they do the tours and they do the big venues and they... I don't think it's the bands themselves as well. I think the touts and the whole thing really has become... Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were having a conversation in the market, weren't we, the other day, me and Keith, and we were talking about when we used to go and see bands. I mean, he was saying about seeing Led Zeppelin at the stadium in 1972, which was 75 pence or something, you know what I mean? Big, massive bands doing massive circuits. It's just something that you don't get anymore. And the American bands don't come over anymore. And, you know, your big bands will do a week at the Royal Albert Hall and you'll have to kind of get yourself down there and accommodation and all the rest of it. So it really is a bit of a dearth at the moment, I think.
Yeah, It's a tricky one. Meg, you've been in bands and things, haven't you? What's sort of the difference from when you were in bands and what it's like now, or what's your sort of experience of it?
I think there was just more places available for you as inexperienced musicians. So I'm not from around here. I only moved here about a year ago. But I was from Chester, but we'd always play in Liverpool because there's just so many places to play there. And I remember I went to, it would have been the Beer Keller then, but it was like the old Beer Keller. And I went, can we have a gig? And they said, tell you what, yeah, you can have a gig, just get some other bands to play with you, and that can be your gig. So it didn't cost us anything. We still got money from it. And then we got to play with bands that we wanted to play with. So it was a lot easier. I don't think you can do that so much now, because that was like 10 years ago. So it has changed. It is a different climate, and everywhere is just money based. It's not sort of just friendly atmosphere. Come in, wander in, have some drinks, watch some bands. It is they want the money first, because the bands are very money based.
Yeah, and my son plays drums and stuff, so he was going to play this gig. But then promoters, which is their job to promote the gig, sell the tickets, are saying to these young bands, you need to sell so many tickets or you're not playing.
Yeah.
So they're putting the stress on the musicians to sell the tickets when it's their job as a promoter to do that. And so the lads wouldn't play, would they? They just said, we're not doing it. We're not selling the 100 or so tickets you want us to sell.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of venues up north, and places like Burnley and Oldham and stuff like that, where you can get a gig, but it's a support gig, and they'll say to you, can you fill a busload of people and bring them along, so they're making money on the beer that they're going to drink.
Do you ever remember the days, I know, when you used to go to the old not services, Legion clubs, used to have on a Sunday afternoon a shop window, it was called, and you'd turn up with your gear, plug in, and people would be fighting who was going to get the gear in first, But the
like
agents,
the Blues Brothers.
Like the Blues Brothers, it was. The agents would be in the audience, and if you come off and nobody spoke to you, you didn't eat your dinner that day, because you think, oh no, we failed. But you get an agent who'd come, and because at that time I was only a young kid, and he'd pay you peanuts to do 5-week gigs in Liverpool somewhere, and but that's how you got bookings then. So it was very hard. When you were young, to actually know how to present yourselves, how to talk to these people, they'd say like, oh yeah, you're on such a thing on Friday night, and we'll pay you £5. You're just like, yeah, okay. You take it, and you treat you like muck.
How do people now? I mean, obviously that's a way of starting back then, but how do people then make the leap nowadays from being just in a band because they enjoy it, and to then looking at it as being the career? What's the sort of state of things, and do you know anybody that's at that point in the career where they're sort of changing from having a job and having it as a social activity to then having to make those decisions? What's kind of, if anybody experience of that, or have you seen anything about?
I always remember there was a lad that lives in Runcorn I was in a band with, and it was like we only did our own stuff, and this night he said to me, I'm going to Runcorn, to Frodsham tonight. He said, with me mate, if you want to come along. So a lad who lives by me, we were in the band, 3 of us, we went over to Frodsham, and there's this guy sat there, and he said, one day I'm going to be famous. He said, I'm going to make a living out of singing. He said, you 3 will still be playing clubs and pubs, And I thought, what? And it was Gary Barlow. But there you go. Yeah.
Whatever happened to him?
Say no more, yeah.
Doesn't pay his taxes.
Because it's something that obviously we see particularly from young people coming forward, and we had a great Q&A with the guys that run Society of Losers, who I suppose is like they're promoters, but they have bands, and they're like a record label as well. And the guys that have come through rehearsing here and being young people on the music workshops that used to run before this incarnation of the studio. So they kind of know where we sit community-wise and are always willing to help us out. So they came along and spoke to a number of the young musicians that are kind of actually going to play for us in a week's time from now. And one of the things we wanted them to do is it's like, I know people say they've got to make their own mistakes, haven't they? But it's just, you see the same mistakes over and over again, and it's so painful, isn't it? And you just want to pass on just a little bit of wisdom. And one of the great things that came of that is Christian, who's in the band Salt the Snail as well, and he's part of Society of Losers. He sort of said to them, don't go for the headline acts where the promoter is saying to you, you can headline, and you bring your 90 people or whatever, because actually you're doing all the work. You're not playing with anybody else who's got any crowd. You're not meeting any new people. It's just you playing in a different town to where you could play for free or whatever, or even actually get some of the money. And he would say, don't kind of fall for that. Go for the support act, because you're going to meet so many more people.
Taking risks, isn't it? And it seems to me, when you look at the music these days, is that there are promoters and managers or whatever who just aren't prepared to take a risk with people.
No.
That risk, years ago, people just signed on a whim and I'll take a chance on you, and it paid off. But these days, they want the finished article all
But it's the same with audiences as well. Audiences won't take a risk. That's probably why a lot of, as we mentioned earlier, tribute acts are thriving, because people go, I know exactly the songs you're going to play. I can roughly know what you're going to sound like. You probably plot the order of the songs and everything. That much because you love that band or that, which is fine if that band's not around and you can't hear them play live. I always think that's absolutely. I totally get why you do that. But if I don't know what I was saying now, but I was saying something about.
Yeah, I think TV has a lot to answer for. You look at things like the X Factor and The Voice and all the rest of it, and it just plays into people's mind that people have got to be this finished article.
Yeah.
And I can't abide them, to be honest.
No, you've got to show the warts and all, haven't you?
Yeah, you have got to. People should be rough diamonds, and people should take the risk with them people and not.
Yeah, following on from that, like my first gig we did was straight into the Liverpool O2, and we didn't have the drummer, we didn't have bass player, it was me on my synth with a laptop on top of it playing a drum track, and then like the singer going over the top of that and the guitarist, and like that was that. We weren't finished at all. We'd been playing together for about 2 weeks, but we'd like got that opportunity, so we took it. And then going on with the headliner thing, I couldn't agree more. Don't take the headliner act if you can take another one instead, because we played one where we were the headliners because there was a band coming from out of town, and again Liverpool O2, and this band, they don't bring people. They didn't bring people with them.
Yeah.
So it was just us with the people we knew. Whereas when we supported Dreams, the 90s band, it was completely different, because obviously they're then waiting for the main band at the end, so you've got those people staying around for you. And then again, some people just don't stay and listen to the whole set. They'll just go and pack up and go home, so it's better being on earlier.
Well, that's it. The audience are willing to take the risk to listen to the support act, because you're almost being promoted by the band, aren't you? They're almost saying these can play with us because either they fit our genre of music, or that we think they're good and we want to give them a leg up. So that kind of collaborative work is really important, isn't it? And more likely for an audience to take a risk and say, oh, I'll go and see what the support act's like, because it's being sort of put in place by the main act or the promoter of it. I mean, that's sort of the difference in the Authentic Acoustic, is that you may have headlined it, but it's not really headlining it, is it? It's just it's an order. It's just a running order of what will work and make the night sound better, and often it's just to do with what time people can get there as well. So it's a kind of practical look at it with a bit of well, maybe we should end on a band rather than a solo act, but not always. It's we switch it up.
I think it's about venues as well, because the smaller the venue for me, the better. I think being up close and personal to a band, you could almost touch them, is a far greater experience of listening to music than being in an arena somewhere.
I think being listened to, John, that's the thing about Authentic Acoustic. I mean, we've done pubs and clubs and things, and in a rock band I was lead singer, lead vocals, and you're thinking nobody's listening here. People are watching telly or having arguments or doing something completely different, and you're singing a set of 20, 30 songs, and you're thinking nobody's even listening to this lot. What a waste of time. But the authentic acoustic, you can hear you can hear a pin drop, you know, and you think, well, I'm being appreciated. That's what I find anyway.
I think the other thing, talking about tribute acts, 20 years ago we could get 350 quid for playing the Appleton Arms. There's no one that would pay a 5-piece band to do that now. No. But a tribute act, they will. And we've also got this thing, pay to play, which is quite prevalent in Manchester and Liverpool and the bigger venues, where you actually pay to get up on the stage and get your music out, which I think is just anathema to what you're trying to achieve.
Well, that's it, and it's always that thing of, to stop that, we have to be refusing it, like you said about,
they've played in the past and then they had a little break and they got back together, and they would do that. They'd go, we need to sell these tickets, but they just took a stance this time and said, no, we're not playing. We're not playing. You don't want us, you know, as we are. We're not playing. We're not begging you for you to play.
And I don't know. I think one of the things with us now is that, you know, bands might not be necessarily coming and saying, I want to run a gig. I think there used to be, say, back in the late 80s and 90s, where the bands would come together and put a night on themselves, and that doesn't seem to happen. I think people don't want to take the risk, really.
Yeah, Loki as well.
Yeah, I was just, when you were all talking, then one thing I would add, I've got I've got a 17-year-old son. It was his birthday last week, and sometimes, you know, you forget, don't you, that, you know, he's where it's at the moment, and, you know, he goes to school in Liverpool and he knocks around with his mates in Liverpool, and what I like about it, he's coming to me and saying, Dad, I want to go to a gig on Saturday night. I say, oh, are you going to see? I've never heard of the band, I've never heard of the venue. But, you know, in some instances, he's got a group of pals who've got a little band themselves, a couple of covers, a couple of originals, and they're getting a slot at places like the Zanzibar. So I think for sort of like that relatively young set, sort of like 16, 17-year-olds who are just finding the way, there may be one or two venues that we don't know about because it's an age thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the bands that come here to rehearse, the young bands, they do play in the Zanzibar and the O2 and the Arts Club in Liverpool, those places, and that's absolutely great. I mean, sometimes it's Battle of the Bands, whatever, but they are getting the opportunity, and it's brilliant. But I think sometimes they don't think about playing here in Widnes. It's almost like they don't, or Runcorn, they don't see a scene. Whereas a scene was massive when I was young. It was massive. The music scene, you could go out every single night, as you said, you know, and that is something that, you know, we try to say to bands here. Well, put a night on yourself. Pay for this, but then we can pay for this, so you can make the money on the door. And, you know, it's like with Authentic Acoustic, we give the acts a share of the door, because you've come, you've paid your petrol to get there. All right, you're not getting a fabulous wage, but it's kind of, you know, we are together with it, and then there is a kind of reticence about doing that. They're a bit reluctant to put those nights on themselves, whether that feels like they're not achieving if they haven't been asked to play, or I don't know what that kind of situation is.
I think it could be the fact that they don't know how to do it. They don't physically know how to do it. I mean, when we've done it in the past, when we played in bigger, you know, rock bands, we've kind of gone there and said, listen, we've had this idea and we know another band that might play, and we kind of know the bass player of them, so we might, and it's that kind of thing. But you do that because if you didn't do that, the only thing you'd play, I mean, in terms of kind of charity gigs, I think I've done more charity gigs than Bob Geldof, you know, and it's great and it's fantastic to do, but you do it for the cause and you do it to make the money for the charity, and it's not quite what you what you want to do with the band.
It's people only coming out when there's a good cause attached to it, rather than just coming out because they should be listening to music and you know, the positive mental health for them as a listener, not just as a participant as well. Well, hopefully that will change with the young bands performing next Friday, as I've said here, because we want to really kind of put that in the minds that they can do it themselves with our help, obviously, and we can take a lot of the stress away from them. So they wouldn't have to find a PA, they wouldn't have to find a sound engineer, they wouldn't have to pay them, they wouldn't have to sell the tickets necessarily. You know, it will happen, whatever. It's not all on their heads, and hopefully that can be this, because that used to, you know, a few years back that we had regular sort of monthly gigs that were big band gigs, but there's definitely been such a drop off in bands. You know, a lot of people are going straight to YouTube, a lot of people are solo artists, You know, so but I feel there is a bit of a tide turning again. You know, where the live act and the social side of being in a band are kind of coming out again. We're going to listen to another track now before we enter the closing stages of our podcast. So Meg, what have you got for us?
So we've got obviously Georgina and Pete here.
Takes a while to get going.
It's What's Up Doc with Money in the Bank.
Well, if hugs were a dime and kisses were a dollar,
If hugs were a dime and kisses were a dollar,
I wake up every morning and this is what I'd holler.
I wake up every morning and this is what I holler.
I'm so lucky that she's my girl.
I'm so lucky that she's my girl.
I'm the richest man in the whole damn world.
I'm the richest man in the whole damn world.
I'm a millionaire when I hold her hand. She's a dollar in my pocket, money in the bank. Now with those diamond eyes and those ruby lips,
With those diamond eyes and those ruby lips,
my interest rises when she shakes those hips.
my interest rises when she shakes those hips.
I don't own a roller or a Mona Lisa.
I don't own a roller or a Mona Lisa.
I hit treasure every time I squeeze her.
I hit treasure every time I squeeze her.
I'm a millionaire when I hold her hand. She's a dollar in my pocket, money in the bank. Well, you wouldn't know, but I'm a rich man, Jack.
You wouldn't know, but I'm a rich man, Jack.
I own a beat-up Ford and a hobo shack.
I own a beat-up Ford and a hobo shack.
Well, I ain't the banker's favorite son.
I ain't the banker's favorite son.
Money goes and the money comes.
Money goes and money comes.
I'm a millionaire when I hold her hand. She's a dollar in my pocket,
money in the bank. Money in the bank. Money
It's
in
been,
the
it's been
bank.
fabulous talking to everybody at our
Money
Only
in
at the
the bank.
Studio podcast, and we call it that, don't we? Because on a daily basis things happen, and we go only at the studio, and we love it for that reason. But only at the studio, people. We've been not just at the studio today. We've been at Halton Stadium, haven't we? Some of ours, and our jam session, which is normally on a Sunday 1:30 till 3, alongside our Light Bites Cafe at reasonable prices. We have been asked by the CEO, no less, of Widnes Vikings, Phil Finney, to start playing. This is like a world exclusive now. It's a partnership that we're creating, whereas the studio will be putting forward people to play at the stadium. Now, when we say at the stadium, hang on, everybody. It's not like on the pitch. Cool it. It's not the pitch yet.
There's no stage
yet. But it's as the fans are coming in. Today we were on the North Concourse, so it's just as they were coming through the turnstiles and the bars there and the cafe and the selling of the merchandise and stuff. We were there with the jam session. So how did it go, guys?
Well, John, are you going to speak or shall I? Go on, you go.
Well, it was great, I thought. Anyway, it was, it was good, wasn't it?
Well, how many was there? 7, 8 of us there, was it? And we only do little jam sessions here, don't we, James? And Jane joined in today with us as well. And I thought it was amazing for us all to get together so ad hoc and then just play songs. And we did it off our heads, more or less. It was like, what should we do next, John? You know, and he'd say to me, do one of yours, or we'll do this, or do that. And it was great. But we had, in the spirit of the studio, we had a laugh. And there was no, you played that wrong, you played. I mean, I tried to sing, we did a version of Cheating Heart, and there was 5 different chords playing in each ear. And I'm thinking, what's the key? And I was going high.
Couldn't tell.
Low. But we just laughed about it later.
Oh.
Yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't even get the tune at one time. But it was great stuff. What do you think, Jane?
I don't think anyone noticed anything really. I didn't
notice we were there.
Yeah, they didn't notice we were there. We were that quiet. No, I think it's a great session on a Sunday afternoon that I don't normally really take part in because I'm doing the games and the cafe bit sort of thing. So now and again I'll jump in. But it was a great experience, and also I can only play 4 chords. I say it every time. I used to play 3.
3 more than me.
But it was good because
you teach Carl the 4th one.
I can do, yeah.
That'd be good.
But I think because Keith and John know what they're doing, I just copied them. And it's so easy to do it, and it was so great because everyone had a smile on the face. Now, whether they were laughing, I don't know. I don't think they were. They did have a smile on the face.
People took our photographs.
Oh, I've seen that a few times.
And a lot of people clapped after the songs.
And that wasn't just Louise.
Yeah, that was.
Cost me a fortune.
I paid them to clap, yeah.
Exciting, fun.
It was great.
I have to say that Louise always comes up with something brilliant, doesn't she? You know, when you think, oh, can we do this?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do that.
It's
never a dull moment.
Louise
so nice
emailed me and I thought, what? We're going to play him.
It was great. But yeah, excellent, really good fun. Hopefully we'll continue, like I said, with other
Guitar Jam
artists.
on tour.
Oh, we've
Guitar
seen
Jam
it.
on tour, yeah, it is.
Yeah, like one venue, but it's a tour, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It's a tour from here to there.
And really, it was, we were just, testing the waters out for other people, so it could be that, all the people that play Authentic Acoustic could then be offered a little gig at the stadium. So we're just in this process of working out what this partnership's going to look like. But, big up to Widnes Vikings and Phil Finney there for asking us and kind of wanting to be more involved in the community. There's absolutely fabulous community feel and spirit about Widnes Vikings at the minute, and it was lovely to see how everybody sort of rallied round and tried to save them from the situation, and that recently found themselves in, and we're happy to be part of that, and they want to support us, we want to support them, and that's kind of part of the ethos of it, as well as it's the community beyond the studio. It's not just like, we have to keep you here and you're ours now, you will be our performers. No, we can go, right, well, what about this? And we're always happy to pass on opportunities and gigs to people. So watch this space on that one. Yeah, so you never know. People around the table could be coming to you with their match fixtures very soon. Check your diaries. But yeah, we often do things other than at the studio, obviously, like the choir. Is about to perform at one of the great get-togethers, which is coming up in sort of inspired by Joe Cox, is what we say. So the great get-together is something that's the 3rd year running now, after Joe Cox MP was murdered in Batley in Spen constituency. And really, it's the family that have created this opportunity for the community to come together and set aside those kind of divisive kind of divisions between us all. And I've recently had the privilege to go to 2 events in London that are run by the Joe Cox Foundation alongside Laura Bevan, who is organising the great get-together that the choir will perform at on the 22nd of June. But we've also got our great get-together Friday night and Sunday as well. So John, do you want to tell us a little bit about what will be happening and what is going to happen on the 21st of June?
Okay, so Friday night, 21st of June, Authentic Acoustic Night is being taken over by the Great Get Together. So we're kicking it off. So we've got some great acts coming up on that night. We've got Monday Green, we've got John Chatterton, got to say that right.
Yes,
Junior
one
Davis.
The poster had that different.
Junior Davis. We've got half of What's Up Doc because these two are not available.
It's Mia's 21st birthday.
It's Mia's 21st birthday, so that counts them out. And yeah, it's a lame excuse, as ever there was one, wasn't it? Yeah. And we've got an amazing breakthrough band coming through on that night as well. J2O were there. Unbelievable. That's all I've got to say about it.
Exciting.
Apparently they're not going to do sit down this time.
Oh, shame.
But it's a shame. It's a shame. I know it is. I know you're gutted.
Are you doing Tobacco Road?
No, not doing that. So yeah, that's the first night, and we've got some raffle prizes to be given away as well. So we're gonna have a raffle on that night, and yeah, all the money raised on that. It costs £3 to get in, but all the money that night is going to Runcorn and Widnes Food Bank. And we're gonna nearer to the time I will announce what kind of food they want. If you just want to bring food to give as well as donations or instead of donations.
And there's going to be food to eat as well.
There's going to be food to eat. Yeah, we've been donated some money, so we're going to put on free food as well. So
it's a real social gathering.
Yeah. So for £3, you're going to get fed and entertained,
and do a bit for charity.
And
as well.
do a bit for charity, and it's all part of the great get together weekend. So it kicks it off really, really well for the next 2 days.
So then on the second day, the choir will be performing at the Mersey Hotel, the Snig, to those locals. And we've played before, haven't we?
We have.
Remember last time?
I remember last time, yeah, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. So
it was raining.
It was raining, that was just us crying. No, it was, we played before, and we'll be doing it again.
Strangely, she's asking us back.
Yeah, that's quite amazing,
really, yeah. So that's the choir will be playing sometime in the afternoon, because it's like a family fun day out in the beer garden. That's so food and crafts and activities and bouncy castles and live music and so tug of war, yeah. And I think the sort of sports teams from the area hopefully taking part and stuff like that. So that'll be a really good fun day out. And then on the Sunday, we're back here for a new venture called the Greatest Get Together Show, which is a talent show in the old 80s kind of style. Meg's done a fabulous poster that I keep touching and saying, I really like this.
We're having a clapometer, aren't we?
We're having a clapometer.
Clapometer.
So it's going to be kind of, in the style of a competition, but with a friendly kind of atmosphere. And yes, there's no big prize at the end of it, just being together.
Being part of it, yeah.
So there's going to be
the prize.
Yeah, choirs and the new vocalised group, that new under-16s choir that started here with Victoria Music Group. They're going to be playing, and the Knights Choir playing. So there's loads of singing and stuff like that. But there's some kind of new, unusual acts, aren't there? Maybe. Anybody here taking part?
Oh wait, right next to me.
Am I? Yes, I will be taking part, but I'll have my little friend with me, who's Buddy the dog, who comes with me everywhere I go, and he's got a.
He's not here now.
He's outside actually, John. On guard. He's got a new act. He's told me, and I've just got to stand there and be dumb, which isn't hard to do. But he's got a whole new act just for the children.
So it's lovely. And are you taking part at all, Jane?
Yes, me and our Tom are doing a little double act. And also, I'm looking at Meg, who's saying something to me. What's that, Meg? Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to forget about him. Norris the Nurture Bird, who's a rare parrot. And some other little things that we've going to think of.
Yeah, so little you got a month. Just under.
I'm going to wake up in a minute. This is a dream, isn't it?
Only at the
It
studio.
gets weirder.
Only at the studio. So yeah, so lots of bits of magic and
Yes.
ventriloquisms and lots
Keith's
of
going to make
different
the audience disappear, aren't you?
Yeah. Got to get them there first. And in the audience will be the mayor. So, yes, we're going to be in good company, and we're going to have some free food at that, and hopefully some ice cream, but I've not worked out how we can fit ice cream for 100 people into the fridge that's small. Yeah. Freezer.
Yeah.
So anybody got any
Those happens
ideas on
in
that?
the freezer as well.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
It would definitely be melted if it was in the fridge. But yeah, so lots of familiar faces from the studio performing amongst other acts that we've asked to come and join us. So from drama, theatre, all sorts of different things. So that's our great get-together weekend. So that's all lovely. And you can get tickets for that online. They're already selling. Well, they're free. So, you know what I mean? Don't know if that means selling. On Eventbrite. Great get-together.
Selling for nothing.
And at that great get-together weekend, we're going to be launching a new idea, aren't we? Now I'm looking at Anno across the table here, because Anno's come up with an idea that I got very excited about.
I had a dream, as someone once said. Yeah, I had an idea. I've not really had time to think about this, so I've still just got an idea. But my idea was to basically create a piece of music, a song, and to do some songwriting that kind of celebrates what the whole thing is about, the ethos behind it, and basically use people from the studio. So the choir, I would like to get involved, everybody around the table, but you know, the photographers, the techies, absolutely anyone who's to do with the studio that comes into the studio. And I don't want it to be my idea, and I don't want it to be your idea, Louise, either.
Certainly not.
I just want to do something creative and try and get as many people involved as we possibly can, and to record it and maybe film it, maybe video it. And that was the idea. And that's really as far as I've got. And, you know, do some workshops and talk about how people write songs, the methodology of how you do it. Look at some classic songs maybe and say, this is how they do it, you know, and maybe get some local people in to say, local songwriters in to say, how do you do it? I mean, we do it in one way. I'm sure you do it totally different way, and to actually do that.
Sounds really great idea.
Yeah.
That's
really good. Yeah,
because I think that's a stumbling block with a lot of young people, isn't it? They're writing the songs, and they haven't got the maturity of life because they're still young, kind of thing. So I think that'd be great for the young ones to get involved with and help them out.
I mean, the other thing is the creative writing people as well. You know, are an obvious place to go to look at the lyrics and try and get the lyrics down, and just to come up with something, you know, a broader theme, and to try and get something down and to do that.
Very excited by it, and from that idea, it's now Live Aid 2, obviously, that I've created, and we're going to film the video, make the video be #1 by Christmas. So, you know, just a little.
If you're really unlucky, I'll play bass. If you want.
You heard it here, everybody. We've got that on record.
All the bassists are available, of course. Really? Yes. Not to you.
Yeah.
Called Lucade.
Lucade.
Lucasade.
Well, that's all going to be part of it, isn't it? Creating
Actually, while I'm here, how are you going to be involved with it, Cal?
Yeah, Cal.
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. Tell me exactly how I am going to be involved in it. I guess I'm turning up, am I?
Yeah.
Yep.
With a guitar.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a start. And then we can do what we do. Which is what? I come up with half an idea and you finish it off. Is that what we're going to do?
The kind of thing, yeah.
Brilliant.
That sounds perfect. But that's it. It's just it's going to be, how do we work through the ideas, finding out the little sections of a song that people could be part of. Maybe the jam groups.
The
part
jam
of
group,
it.
absolutely, 100%. One of the first people that I thought of, because when we come in on a Sunday and we walk past them, we can hear them putting stuff together. And also Jane, the amount of times I've seen Jane trying to get out from behind that counter and pick a guitar up and get involved. So it's Sahara,
give it a moment.
kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
times we shove it back in.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
That's the problem.
It needs to be managed. That's the thing. So yeah.
But that's, you know, I'm really, as I say, excited about it. I think everybody around the table is kind of keen on that. And I know Laura is, obviously, who's, you know, massive part of the great get-togethers. I know who started hers all on her own. And now we're all kind of, you know, coming together for the More in Common theme, which is what is kind of inspired by the Joe Cox Foundation. And just, you know, finding ways to come together. And if it's writing a song and performing a song and singing a song, then let's do that. It's coming together, having a family day, whatever. And, you know, there's going to be more of these kind of activities throughout the years to come where we can say, actually, this is a More in Common moment. We can come together here and we can help people who want to put on events. You know, we can tell them how, you know, who to contact in the council to close a road, who to, you know, in the events team if you want to do something at Victoria Park, whatever. You know, there's stuff like that. We've got the experience. We mustn't hold on to it ourselves. We must pass it on so that these things become part of everybody's daily life, whatever background, whatever country they come from. If they've found themselves here, then let's, you know, bring everybody together socially and creatively and whatever way. To make sure that we don't stand for these kind of atrocities.
It kind of reminds me of when we did Metronomes, because when we did Metronomes, it was like a kind of flavour of what everyone did, and all the local songwriters, and we used the songs, and local actors, and then the choir were involved, and all musicians got involved. So it was a real collective effort to produce that. So, you know, this is on similar lines.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. If only we knew an actor.
No. Never mind.
Okay.
No. Escapes me, that one.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, I've really enjoyed recording this Only at the Studio podcast with all our posse here. And we will be coming back with another one, I am sure. So any ideas out there for themes you'd like us to discuss, because you just can't wait to hear our ideas, then please do get in touch with us and come and be part of the studio community. So thank you to everybody here. Well done. And Meg, we're going to play out with a song, I believe. You've got one for us?
Yes, we are going to finish off with God Needs Wine and The North Will Rise Again.
Thank you, and say goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye, everybody.
Good enough to carry guns, good enough to fight in wars, good enough for factory floors. The North will rise again, the North will rise again, the North will rise again, the North will rise again. Jobs and wealth, good enough for national health, good enough to mine for coal, good enough for rock and roll. The North will rise again, the North will rise again, the North will rise again. North will rise again. North will rise again. Don't ever waste your vote. Don't ever waste your vote. Don't ever waste your vote. Again, North will rise again, North will rise again, North will rise again.